The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the host and guest and do not reflect the opinions or policies of the station, its owners, or its advertisers. All content should be considered editorial in nature. Listener discretion is advised.
Recorded live from the radio studios of WFAY and WMRV, Andrew Lonis Media presents Cumberland County's smartest hour of talk radio. Welcome back to another edition of the Carolina Cabinet.
Well, everyone, good morning and welcome to the Carolina Cabinet. I'm Peter Pappas. I'll be your host this morning. We're proud to be the only homegrown conservative talk radio show in this region, and we know this is the smartest hour of radio. At least I do.
And the sexiest.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
So our job is to give a voice to the conservatives of Fayetteville, Cumberland County, and beyond. You're listening to us on WFAY 100.1 and The River, WMRV 106.5. This morning, we welcome host of the Cabinet, Pastor Joshua Goodman.
Good morning, family.
Good morning. And Bishop J. Antoine Miner.
Here, blah, blah, blah.
Doctor.
And also welcoming our special guest, J. Antoine Miner, because you're going to be the topic of discussion today.
So I've been in the past.
Yeah, you cleaned up enough, so we'll talk about you. So as we dive into the show, we appreciate you tuning in and spending time with us this morning. Please take a moment to like, share, or follow us on Facebook, and look for us at thecarolinacabinet.com. You can find links to our shows and how to listen on your favorite podcast broadcaster. With that, don't go far. We'll be right back.
Since 2012, Joshua Goodman has been the senior pastor at the Cliffdale Christian Center, a dynamic church and ministry located in West Fayetteville. Join our friend Pastor Goodman for a podcast or a live sermon in person at 6427 Cliffdale Road. Now for today's good news. Here is Joshua Goodman.
Well, good morning from the All-American City. This is Pastor Josh, and have I got some good news for you. In a time when so many want to unpack, talk about, and discuss all the problems, circumstances, and situations, all the negative junk, I've got some good news. So, last year, Tim McGraw came out with a song that was called Standing Room Only. It talks about how at his funeral, he wants so many people to be there that it's standing room only. It speaks on how the things that really matter are not the amount of dollar signs in your bank account, how high you can climb on the ladder of success, but more so it's based upon the impact you have on those around you, your family, your friends. Well, this past week, I had the honor, the opportunity, the obligation, the responsibility to lay to rest my Aunt Deb. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She had overseen children's ministry at her church for over 20 years. She had been faithful to her job for 28. She had children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, been married to the same man over 40 years. An amazing wife, an amazing mother. And at her memorial service last week, friends, I'm happy to say, it was standing room only. As I shared and I told stories of my childhood, the impact she had had on my life, the impact she had had on those around her, I talked of her legacy, the heritage we had inherited from her, how each one of us had been given a precious gift. Well, friends, that is not the only gift we've been given. Each beat of your heart, each breath from your lungs, each day we wake up, it is a gift. Your life is a gift, but it's not a gift to be hidden away. It's not a gift to be stingy with. It is a gift to be given away. So stop holding on to grudges, regrets. Stop holding on to the hurts of your past. Stop chasing the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Be somebody worth remembering. Be honest. Be kind. Be a friend. Be a friend to your spouse, to your parents. Be an individual that is a friend worth having. Friends, learn to laugh, learn to dance like nobody's watching. I can tell you, my Aunt Deb did it, and so can you. This is Pastor Josh, and that is your good news.
News, weather, sports, and common sense talk in the morning. Grab another cup of coffee and settle in for more of the Carolina Cabinet, Eastern North Carolina's sexiest conservative talk show.
And welcome back to the Carolina Cabinet. I'm Peter. I'll be your host this morning, along with Pastor Joshua Goodman,
And
the sexiest pastor in North Carolina, and Bishop.
Dr. Bishop.
I'm in there with that sexy somewhere, y'all. Now, we're going to have to share the throne.
Yeah.
Well, again, the ladies have abandoned us. It's just us boys this morning.
Look out.
Which, should be fun.
Yeah,
should be fun,
well, sometimes they keep us reeled in. I don't know.
They do keep us.
We don't have any mother figures here.
I know they keep me reeled in.
Yeah.
Just a stern look from me still, that does it for me. So
They just let me run amok.
Bishop, nobody can shut you up, man.
There is no controlling you. It's just... it could be a full-time job trying to control.
Yes.
It. I was listening to our episode with Ken Braden. Now I wore you guys out.
Oh
last
man,
week.
2 hours.
2 hours
brother.
marathon we
Yeah.
went. But, I mean, how did you guys think about the episode?
It was great. Great
Chief
episode.
Braden's a
on
great
the
guest.
Yeah.
And
But my back, my neck, I'm at an age, right? We're just standing up. Just standing up hurts me.
right.
Hurts to put my socks on.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys remember? Anything? Any nuggets we took out of that one from last week? I mean,
Just what a great guy.
yeah.
I mean, what a great. I mean, number one, his level of knowledge on law enforcement, situational awareness, de-escalation, but just his overall demeanor, and again, it's a guy. So he mentioned he plays golf. I don't play golf, but I would go out and play a round of golf with him just to hang out with him.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He seems pretty, one thing I've always liked about Chief Braden is, I'm from New York City, so our police
New York
chief
City?
our police
That's not where the good
chief
salsa comes from, huh?
and police commissioner stuff, they're very up there.
Yeah.
One thing I've loved about Fayetteville as a whole is that the leaders, for the most part, are touchable.
Yeah.
And Chief Braden has always been touchable. He's always been he's a cop's cop.
Yep.
But he believes in that community policing and being out there with the community. I can name so many events that I've been to.
Yeah, where he's been there.
Where
He's
been
faithful.
there.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's been
The
there.
only thing I know about New York policing, I've seen Tom Selleck in Blue Bloods. That's
my show.
Good show.
That's
yeah,
my
super
show.
good show.
That's everything I know
tell
comes from Tom Selleck on Blue Bloods.
right.
I
Right.
tell you, did you see the episode where
No, I may not have seen it.
you ever seen all of them?
No, I haven't. I know I haven't.
Get off the radio.
Go finish watching Blue Bloods.
So is Blue Blood still on the air? Because
I think they finished.
It's on Ion.
That's what I
Is
mean.
it on-
Is it still
It's on
like
Ion.
on?
Are they still making them?
They're not making them, but I have watched I've watched the whole series like 4 times.
It's got like 13 seasons or something, doesn't it?
I still have to watch it because the way I watch series is I usually watch them in the evening,
Yeah.
so I fall asleep and I miss a bunch of stuff.
So you
then I
gotta
gotta
go back
and watch it
and
again.
find out where you were.
Yeah, so I don't even find out where I was. I start from the beginning all over again, and it just the excitement of I know what's about to happen, but did I miss something? Then I see little things that I missed, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Well, how did I miss that?
exactly. So yeah, we'll watch it again.
Yeah.
We'll watch it again.
Do a marathon. So my church
Yeah.
wants to do a Chosen marathon.
Chosen
Marathon. But I got to tell you, it's a great idea. I love it. But my thing is, I mean, like each episode of Chosen has a high impact on me, and I just don't think I'd be a wreck. I mean,
Have you seen the book of David?
I have. Yes. Yep.
that's
That was good. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
good. Yeah, their portrayal of Goliath was
Yeah.
beast.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
was sitting there like, whoo. Now that was one of those series where I was like, I gotta stay up.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
I have watched it twice though.
Yeah, have
I've
you?
watched the whole series twice. So
It's hard to get me
So
twice.
what networks are those things on, guys?
I think I watched it on. It wasn't Peacock. I think it was Prime.
I think Chosen might be.
I think, or is it Netflix?
I don't know.
I don't want to say because they're not paying us.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, who cares? Yeah, all right. Well, let's get into our regular roundtable. We always get into what have you been up to last week, Josh. I'm gonna let you go first.
Oh, brother,
last week, so it's all you. So I know
what
you
we say three funerals and a wedding. That's
Well, tell us about your aunt that you laid to rest.
Just family tree. My grandparents got a divorce. My grandma remarried my grandpa Fleet. My grandpa Fleet had a son, right? That son married Debbie, and Debbie had 3 girls at the time.
Okay.
Amy, Paula, and Jenny. Now, a little TMI maybe, but Amy was my first girlfriend. At like 10 years old, 9 years old,
yeah,
right?
Okay. Yeah.
We used to sneak behind her church, and
that's that West Virginia.
She wasn't my cousin at the time, though, dude. This was before. So she was my girlfriend before.
Hey, you know what, Bishop? If it's not good enough for your family, who's it good enough?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
That's the motto they go by in Kentucky.
Yes,
I thought, not West Virginia. But anyway, go ahead.
So, we had to break up once they decided they was going to get serious. We moved to Haiti. We spent 5 years down there. My grandparents buy a piece of property up in North Florida, and everybody moves there, and like over the summers, my parents would itinerate, and so I'd spend my entire summers at my grandma's house, and my Uncle Don, my Aunt Deb, my cousins all lived next door, and so we spent, a lot of time together.
How old was your aunt, Deb, compared to you? Like, was she?
She was probably 70.
Okay,
72.
So good 20-some years on this. Okay.
Yep. And her oldest, like I said, she was my age. She's a couple months older than me, and so we maintained solid family relations. Once we moved to North Carolina, we would still. We would be down there once a month. Me and my Uncle Don. Avid fishermen, we'd be down there all the time, always out on the water, always doing something.
You like them sharks, boy.
Yeah. and so it was a thing where especially when I was younger, she had a deep impact, and we could always have very real conversations about anything, just anything. She got cancer in 2018 and fought that joker and beat it. And then last year it came back with a vengeance. And it was something where literally they knew she had it back, but when she started going downhill, it was within like 2 days.
Oh,
that
wow.
It was quick. But, talking to the family, they were like, look, she's been fighting this fight for 7 years. If it was time for her to go, we don't want her to sit in a hospital and be hooked up on and all this and
quality of life.
Quality of life.
Yeah,
yep.
You don't. Yeah, you want your loved ones to stick around, but at a certain point.
Yep. And so they asked me if I would help with the funeral and memorial service. And literally, when I tell you, it was every seat in the house was full and people were standing in the back. It was packed out. And it's like I said during my good news. This was a woman who did children's ministry for over 20 years. That's huge in church. Get
somebody to stick around that long,
and do children's ministry,
and their parents,
and
their bad butt parents. So
that's the crucible.
And so the impact she had on literally thousands of people was, just amazing.
That's tremendous, yeah.
And it was good for me because when I go down there, I get to see all my family, all these friends that I grew up with.
All those ex-girlfriends.
My wife was like, okay, 10 points for every girl you kissed in the place.
Lord.
And I was like, oh.
That's my girlfriend.
Yeah, I had a girlfriend that used to say, when we see another lady in Fayetteville, well, did you go out with her?
Yeah.
Tell her to turn around. I don't remember. I don't know. I don't remember. Tell her to turn around. But she didn't say it exactly that nicely.
No.
So,
no.
God love her. We're still good friends. But okay.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sorry. Where was that held? Where was it?
The closest place you would know is where UF is, which is Gainesville. But it's really
that's what you were talking.
Yeah, it's like 45 miles outside of there. But me and my wife stayed in Gainesville, and
Gainesville. Where's that at?
That's north central Florida
so you were in Florida this
on the
week.
West Coast.
Google
on the West Coast.
Once in a while.
I know. I got you.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry you had to go, but at least you were able to. See, that's the thing. At least you were able to. Your wife went to support you.
Had dinner with my
she
Aunt
would rib
Dolly.
You a little bit about the ex-girlfriends, but
I found out my Uncle Eddie So my Uncle Eddie's.
We always have one of them.
He's from New York, right?
Okay.
And old school Italian. He conceal carries. I was
Sweet.
like, Uncle Eddie, so do I. So cool, you know.
He's an Italian from New York.
Yeah.
He carries.
Yeah, and he's like, so what do you carry? You know.
You're in the corner of the church comparing weapons. Like, here, check this out.
Should have told him I got a friend that's a Greek. See how that rolls over.
And he conceals too.
So I was checking last week's episode for. First, I published it. Didn't have sound for 20 minutes someplace, so I had to redo it. But along the way, when Chief says, "If I gave you $1,000, what would you buy for security for your house?" and you're talking about cameras, I'm like, ammo.
Yeah.
I was like, ammo.
Yeah, I think I was like cameras.
You're like cameras.
Yeah.
Gotta watch these
ammo.
kids.
Yeah. Yes.
12 gauge
So,
pump action.
Tell you,
Okay,
I got that already at the house.
So that was your week, 8 up.
Yeah.
pretty
I
much,
mean, literally the whole because oh my goodness, and I'm just gonna complain for 2 seconds and then we'll go to Bishop. But
Go ahead, get on your soapbox.
driving all the way down there,
How long was the drive?
so 10 hours.
Oh no, that's way too long for us.
No,
at
10
our
hours.
age.
10 hours in the rain.
Yeah.
And so that 10 hours turns into like 12 hours. Driving back, same thing. Just rained the
Any alligators on the road?
whole way.
Okay, how many stops did you make? Because I'm not trying to get anywhere straight like that anymore for 10 hours.
No. So
trying to
me
take,
and my
like-
wife, we're beasts, right? We're pretty hardcore.
Okay.
We stop on average every 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Fair
how I
enough.
For
do it.
potty
That-
breaks.
that's good.
You know, and
Yeah,
fill
yeah.
up with gas.
That's how I do it.
Yeah.
It's military. The military should require it. If you're driving a long distance, you have to stop every 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah, every 2 to 3 hours.
Fair enough. Okay.
You know.
I'm saying at our age, I'm like, I ain't trying to.
Oh, well, and I got to tell you, at our age, driving that, I mean, like my back
That
hurts
hurts.
today.
Mm-hmm.
My knees are
I
cramping.
had you standing up for 2 hours last
Yeah,
week
and
and hurt
you-
your
yeah,
back.
yeah.
So Bishop, what you been up to? We're gonna get to your book in a little bit, but
But this
what
week,
you been up to this
what I
week?
do? Well, I wrote
See,
it.
you can't even fill out the 5 things for Doge.
I know.
See?
Shoot, I'm about to get fired. It's my last free check. I wrote an article for Up and Coming Weekly.
Okay.
So that'll be coming out this coming week, I think.
And what was
Talking about black fatigue.
I've been seeing that on TikTok running around lately. And so what is
So-
what is black fatigue?
So black fatigue is it's like black folk, especially black conservatives and white conservatives, are just fed up with. From the white conservative side, is white conservatives just tired of being called racist by black people. They're just tired. It's like, you guys complain about everything. We're just sick and tired of always being late. Soon we don't agree with something.
we can say you guys, just not you people.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just
and
checking.
then on the other side, you got the black conservatives that are sick and tired of the blacks that complain all the time and that have the victim mindset. So it's like, we're just tired. Like, listen, get over it. You know, you can't set the house on fire and then complain when it burns down.
Right.
Like, just stop. So black fatigue is like a real thing where, you know, people are just like tired of all of the victimization, the victimhood, the victim mentality, all of the virtue signaling, just all of it. It's just, at this point, we're just fed up.
Okay. So are you allowed to say black fatigue and still retain your black card?
I mean,
I thought you already gave it up.
I
So
did.
you're on shaky ground
I'm on shaky
with
ground,
with the racial police.
but I've been on shaky ground before.
brother?
You really
That,
have.
that ground ain't been there for years.
Yeah, it's not stable over here. But I mean, you just at a point you just have to be honest, and so that's what I really did in the article that's going to come out in Up and Coming Weekly, was just really saying to the black community, stop crying victim. When you look at black on black crime, when you look at all of the, like, just knock it off. Just really knock it off.
Well, what's interesting to me too is when white people echo that. They're like, "You're the victim,"
Yeah.
you know. And I'm like, man.
Like, oh, my ancestors were slaves, but you weren't a slave. And I said this.
But
the
how
other day.
offensive is that for me to say you're the victim? You know, you're whatever. I'm like, man, don't call me the victim,
Yeah.
dog. I'm a man.
And to all the
I'm
white
full
folk
grown
out
here.
there, to all the white folk out there, please stop walking up to black folk apologizing for stuff ancestors did. We ain't listen. I said this earlier this week on the TikTok. I said, y'all talk about reparations and y'all talk about slavery. y'all can't even show up to work on time. Y'all would have been some real bad slaves because y'all would got whipped every day because y'all would have been late every day. Like, it's 12 o'clock and you only got one basket full? Where you been at? You know, I was up late last night hanging out. No. My son said that to me yesterday. He said, I took off my shirt. And my son always says the craziest stuff that make me just want to knock his soul out. And I took my shirt off. And he said, Dad, you know what you look like? I said, what? He said, you look like one of them slaves that he said, you look like one of them slaves that would have got beat real easy because you don't pick a lot of cotton. I said, what? And so I put it on TikTok. I said, can somebody please tell me how to respond to this kid? And he's just sitting there looking at me laughing like he's dead serious. I'm like, oh, boy.
I will beat you, son.
Like, I will, like, knock your soul out of your body. Boy, who you talking to?
Yeah, and then I'll lay hands on you and resurrect
Did he
you.
think you just look too well fed? I mean,
that's what he said. He said I look like one of
them
them real big, hefty ones that just
asking for people's cornbread and stuff. All right, I got you.
I said, golly, my kids, I don't think they love me sometimes.
So we had John Gobrick on the show a couple weeks ago. Did you still officiate
Yes,
our community
we did
salutes?
Our community salutes. It was amazing. Standing room only.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It was packed out. I mean, people standing in the lobby area. Had an amazing what's the thing we do? Invocation.
Yep.
And
the whole prayer thing you did as a
Talk.
bishop.
Yeah. And then they always do this. They always do this competition where all the branches have to sing their branch song. So you got the Army song, the Marine Corps song. So everybody's singing. You know they're trying to outdo the other one when their turn comes. So I got up and I said, you know, that challenge was good. And I said to the guys from the Marines, I said, Marines, you almost had us. I said, but there's a reason why the Army is seated on the front row, because the Army always leads the way. And the whole auditorium went crazy. So I was like, I mean, listen, Army, we Army strong all day. So it was an amazing event. I think it was had to be over like 150, 160 people. I saw some people that I've become good friends with over the years, like Secretary Wilkie, former Secretary of the VA.
Yep.
He was there. Love seeing him. The Adjutant General for the state of North Carolina National Guard was there. You had the 43rd something Chief Master Sergeant from Pope Air Force Base. They're the ones that move 82nd Airborne when they have to rapid deploy.
Yep.
The Air Force has to come and get them where they're going. So it was an amazing. There were some state officials that were on the program to be there, but didn't show up. But
do we need to call them out or?
I mean,
what kind of state officials? State House, state Senate? Oh, state Senate.
Yes,
Okay.
Val Applewhite was
We'll
supposed to be
just go
there.
ahead and fill that in the blank. Yeah,
she was supposed to be there, but I'm not sure why she didn't show up. There was another one that was supposed to be there.
She was probably home walking her fish.
Walk? I don't even know how to respond to that. Okay.
Unfortunately, with Senator Applewhite, that is
fish.
indicative of her treatment of her constituents.
Oh, is it?
She will put down, she'll be X, Y, and Z, and she won't show. So,
see, I didn't know that.
And look, the proof's in the pudding. So you can find many events that she's been asked to go to, whatever, and then she just doesn't show. And how disrespectful of these young men and women that have stood up, took the oath, and your own senator doesn't care about you. So.
And it was an amazing event to see those young people there. And then at the end, we give them coins from the general gives out coins, and we all give them out. And then they all get up and they take the oath of enlistment. And to see all of those young people surrounded by family and friends and loved ones, to see them all raise their hands, and to see that even though they haven't even gone to basic training yet, just that pride in the fact that they made this decision, just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So we are actually in the process now of planning for 2026.
Nice.
Excellent.
Make sure I'm there.
Well,
I'd like to join you.
Absolutely. Yeah. You need reinforcements, so get some other people in. Yeah. So, you guys had some interesting things happen last week.
Yeah. What
My
about
Uncle
you?
Harry died.
Harry and the Hendersons?
No, my Uncle Harry died. My sister told me yesterday. She said, Uncle Harry died. I said, who the heck is Uncle Harry?
There you go.
She laughed so hard she cried. And then we called my other sister in Georgia. She's like, you don't remember Uncle Harry? I said, I remember a lot of uncles.
Okay, was this a blood uncle or like somebody just your mom was friends with?
Well,
Or
my
dad or
sister
whoever?
said it was my aunt's brother.
Okay.
But I don't remember Uncle Harry.
Okay.
I mean, last time I saw that side of the family, Uncle Harry.
Well, I mean, and not to be
37
flippant,
years
I mean,
ago.
Bishop, you at one of your mayoral speeches when you were running, you talked about how many siblings
Yeah,
you have. So I mean,
36.
that's
Woo!
not
It's 36
not really
of
a
us all
stretch
together.
to think that you don't
So-
know all of your
No,
your
I
kin.
don't know Uncle Harry. And they just sat on the phone for like 30 minutes trying to convince me and remind me of who he was. I said, let's move on.
Yeah.
I
Move
don't
on.
know Uncle Harry. God bless his soul.
Swipe left.
Yeah.
Swipe left.
Yep.
Swipe left.
Exactly.
So
What about you, Peter?
me? I've been relatively calm and just kind of focused on work. I
You
have
know what? You know. You know
Have
what?
you?
You know what Peter didn't do?
What?
He didn't make a sandwich before the show.
oh
Right.
wait a minute. We had Mother's Day yesterday.
What does that
I
have to
took-
do with the sandwiches?
I'm trying to get off that subject because I'm not choosing violence like some people are. So Mother's Day yesterday, I took my mom flowers and a card. She was very happy. So
Okay.
I made somebody's day yesterday.
Did you make her dinner or
Uh,
anything, or just
No, my parents, God love them. They're very simple. They're like, my dad wants KFC. I'm like, you got it. So I went.
Dang, dude.
I got him.
What are you
I got him a bucket of chicken, extra crispy, and my mom had. She said no sides, and I'm thinking, what kind of meal is?
Yeah,
this?
just fried chicken.
And I mean, it's good fried chicken,
Yeah.
but I was like, well, what are you gonna eat? We gotta have some nothing.
Yeah.
So I get there. My mom had made potato balls and red cabbage and things. So
okay.
that's just the
Oh,
stuff
they
they
just
wanted.
wanted the chicken
They
to
just
go
wanted
with
the
it.
chicken. I was like, all right, cool.
Gotcha.
But
I didn't get an invite.
No.
last.
I know Mom be listening. I'm
Yes.
just throwing that out there. I didn't get
just,
an invite.
Just saying, Mom.
Just saying.
So
The black guy needs an invite.
It's bad with me because I have to go back to my calendar and look what I did, because if it ain't on here, it don't get done. But there was the Human Relations Commission. There was a scholarship banquet on Thursday.
Nice.
Okay.
They awarded $10,000 scholarships to young folks that you have to apply for the scholarship. You have to write an essay about MLK, and you have to also put it in context of current events.
Who gives that?
So that's the Fayetteville Cumberland Human Relations
Okay.
Commission. Like them or hate them, don't agree with the DEI slant of things, but
So it's 10.
It's $1,000. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Human Relations Commission was started back in the 60s as part of the Civil Rights Acts and stuff like that. And basically, human relations is there to help you maintain access to your government. So if you have trouble accessing the government, HRC is there. The Martin Luther King Scholarship was begun shortly after that. They used to only give away 5. And then in the last 10 years, they were able to start giving 10 a year. There's a certain amount of money set aside that grows that much money a year, and they're able to do it. Also, some commissioners, I didn't donate this time, but last year I did.
Okay.
We were right under our goal, so I think I put in it was a weird number, like 180. It wasn't like 200. It was
Just
like
to meet the goal.
160 or whatever they needed. I was like, yeah, I got it. But to hear some of the students go up there, you're talking, they have 4.2 weighted GPAs. They're in the, I think one of the young ladies was like number 9 in her class. There was another one that was valedictorian.
Yep.
Okay.
So
And these are high school students?
high school students.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of them it's $1,000.
Yep.
I mean, and they have to get 3 recommendations. Now I will say, and I have a friend on human relations, I call her my work wife, but, I was telling her on the way in, I'm like, man, I hope these kids wrote well. Cause I read some of these in years past. I'm like, they needed Grammarly. I was thinking, you're asking for $1,000. At least you can do a spell check or something,
yeah,
because a lot of the kids nowadays, they write the way they speak.
Yes.
So I had told her that, and then we're going in there, and as they're reading off the credentials of these children, of these kids,
You're like,
she's just looking at me, and I'm like, what? What?
Just checking,
she-
just
I was
checking.
like, I was just saying the last ones were, or the ones in the past weren't. I think it was during Corona.
Yeah.
Everybody's standards went out the window in
Yeah.
COVID.
Well, now you have
But,
AI too. Who needs to write anything?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So who are the checks written to?
You know what? I believe the checks are written to the kids.
So the kids have to have like a bank account or something to cash the checks or
You
something?
know what, Bishop? I really don't know. I'd have to.
Because if it's written to the parents, they didn't get it. The kids didn't get it.
Well, let's hope they did. I mean,
Them
a lot
checks
of them
went on the cable bill in the car.
I don't think there may have been one or two going to an Ivy League school, but the rest of them are going to local, like FSU, FTCC. These kids are going to be in our community, and that's what I like about.
I like that.
The premise of doing this scholarship is, hey, kid, here's $1,000. They wrote an essay, and they have to put Martin Luther King's teachings or his practices into a modern context of what's going on now. So
that's good.
That's a little challenging, I think, and has to be it's a little creative and a little, they got to have their facts straight.
Maybe we should give out some money the next time. What's your school name?
Renaissance.
Next time, Renaissance, like what you guys did this year with the
speech meet.
The speech meet. Maybe next time have like some monetary.
Well,
prizes.
and I think if nobody from Renaissance has applied, we need to get them to apply.
Yes.
So one thing I was as a commissioner on the human relations, I was a little bit upset with a few years ago when I did see the entries that were not the most stellar. I did notice that some of the entrants were cousins, nephews of other commissioners. And look, we send human relations.
Yep.
Well, human relations sends this stuff to all the school principals and the guidance counselors, stuff like that. But I think those folks are inundated with scholarship opportunities that it just doesn't get pushed enough. So it's going to go back to squeaky wheel gets
$1,000 in scholarships. That's not a whole lot.
No, it's not.
I mean, because
well, depending on what neighborhood you're from.
For 3 recommendations.
Yeah.
I mean, look, 3 recommendations. You got to write the essay. It's time involved.
Who can make the recommendation?
Because you're talking about, I mean, let's see. I mean, semester. It's like, I mean, anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 a semester.
It's books, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. It's one of those things that it's and I'm not talking an Ivy League school.
Every little bit's going to help, I think, is the takeaway from that. But it was Teacher Appreciation last week.
Woohoo!
So I did some catering for Baldwin Elementary.
Yes.
For Ms. Little, for Dr. Littlejohn.
For Dr. Littlejohn. My girl.
My kids went to Baldwin.
She's a good lady, and she. Well, we got up early and made, I think, 80 box lunches. I think me and Jim delivered. And then
did you get a call on that, Josh?
No. After Baldwin delivery, I said, Jim, you hungry? He's always hungry. So, I said, we're going to go have some Southern hibachi.
Oh,
where'd you go?
Waffle House. I took that boy to Waffle House.
Oh no!
And it pretty much, I was like, okay, don't touch that. Don't touch that pork. Nope, don't do that. But I had to teach him how to do scattered, covered, smothered, chunk, all that stuff. He's like, what means that, what means this or that, But it was, it was eye opening. He enjoyed it.
Wait a minute. You said it was
Southern hibachi.
Southern hibachi.
Have you never seen Anthony Bourdain do when he did his thing through? And so I sent Jim 2 videos. I sent him the Anthony Bourdain when he went into Waffle House and he's talking about, it's a beacon of light and all this stuff. For those of you hungover or whatever, it's a beacon.
Oh yeah, 2 a.m.
And then I sent him there's a comedian that the Atlanta Journal-Constitution had called out in Atlanta Waffle House for having a low rating. And pretty much he's like, leave Waffle House alone, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. We know what we're getting. And he goes in to say that he saw the cook mix the eggs with his hand, and the cook looked like he was out on parole, and he wants his cook to have some fear in his eye. It was it's a whole. But anyway, I sent him that as I said, okay, enjoy your meal, but here's the.
Which Waffle House did you go to?
The one right there on Legion Road. Yeah, right there by the Walmart.
I took the kids to the one down Cedar Creek. And there was a girl in there that was serving.
The one off 95.
Yeah, there was a girl that was serving, and I noticed her because she came and applied when I was the director at the lodge. And when she came to apply at the lodge, she had on the spaghetti strap shirt. She had on some flip flops, and she had on some spandex. And she smelled like she had got out of she just slept in a tub full of marijuana all night. And she was sitting there. You could tell she was high because every time I would say something, she would smile. And then when I wasn't saying anything, she'd just be sitting there looking at me. And when we went inside Waffle House, I looked at my son. I said, that's the girl. I said, you know how I know? He said, how? I said, because she still smells like weed. And she high right now. now. She was like, I'm going to get your order right now. My drink came 6 times later.
I'm sure. Yeah, no refills for you. So we had the All-Star well-done waffle, and he even got, I didn't know they had chicken breast as a meat.
They do.
You can get that instead of like bacon or whatever. It was actually good.
Yeah,
They do.
So anyway, I'm glad. I'm showing them all kinds of different American
American
culture.
education.
You got to know Southern Hibachi. Now, Friday night was a friend's birthday. I went to Cheers. I'm not a bar guy, but
I've never been.
So my friend wanted to have a few friends for her birthday, but the weed comment is why I'm even saying this. So later on in the evening, around 10, 11, the DJ, they were karaoke that night, and the DJ pretty much started yelling because somebody came in and reeked of
weed.
marijuana tub.
Yeah.
And she got so pissed off. She goes out there with Lysol. She's spraying. She's like, you need to get your stank butt out of here. And I was like, all right, girl, that I can support, but I don't like being in the bar because guess what happened? A fight broke out.
Oh, of course.
Because there was one dumb drunk guy.
Yeah.
The poor guy came in. I was in the bathroom. The guy came in. He says, don't judge me, bro. And I'm thinking, I'm like, what do you mean? And then all of a sudden I hear him, exorcist style vomit in there. And I was like, you okay? He's like, yeah, hold up. One more time. I'm like, all right. So I said, are you all right? He goes, yeah. I said, all right, you booted. Now rally. Get out there.
Yeah.
See,
But then he
Peter's
started-
the nice one. 'Cause
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said
No.
it. You okay?
No.
I'd have just.
I mean, I do care a little bit about my fellow man.
I would,
so.
like my mother would say, you down there worshiping that porcelain god.
Yeah.
God, yeah. Well, the trick is to know your limit. I think. I think he was the DD actually.
Oh.
So ain't nobody going home at his car load that night. So he screwed that one up. But anyway, so yeah, that was my week was pretty light considering that. Did anybody do Cinco de Mayo tacos? Anybody?
Of course. Dude,
Okay.
we do. Look, we culturally appropriate every holiday we can.
I didn't do anything.
Was it
to
white
Cinco de Mayo.
people taco
Yeah.
night? Have
We
you
do.
seen that on TikTok? It's like they get the taco
Yeah.
sauce. From
Yep. We do, and I did. So normally I don't because I mean I do. I've been to Mexico several times, and so I'm like I'm gonna do this upright, but I didn't this Cinco de Mayo. I did complete white redneck Southern, the ground beef with the taco packet seasoning in it. My kids loved it.
But someone told me that Cinco de Mayo has nothing to do with Mexicans.
No, well, I mean, so it was
Like it's an American-
it was invented by Corona, the beer.
Coronavirus?
No, Corona
Oh.
the beer.
Oh.
They invented now. It is some sort of like crazy flag day or something in Mexico, but it's not their liberation, and they invented it to sell beer, and
Yeah,
it worked.
I think I'm joking. When COVID first came out and they were calling it Corona, I said, people getting sick from drinking that beer. I was literally
doing it without the
thinking
lime.
it was the beer. I was
No.
like, y'all better stop drinking them Coronas until I found out what it really was. I was like, oh, never mind. Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ground beef
You got to be
Well,
kidding me.
grocery
Here we go. The computer's a little
and
slow.
Shredded cheese from the
Grocery
grocery
store.
store and Ortega sauce from the grocery store. And I can't wait to sit at my table and sprinkle everything on into my shells and eat.
All right, taco.
Yeah,
night. All
yeah.
right, yeah, but that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about. White
no,
people
we
taco
never
night,
do
yeah.
that, but that's exactly what we
Yeah,
did this Cinco de
yeah.
Mayo.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
I just
right.
put on a Trump hat and sung Cinco de Mayo on TikTok. That's all I did. That's all I did, just to antagonize people.
And it did.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to put this. I got a picture from Trump here. It says, El Presidente Don Julio Trump wishes you a tremendous Cinco de Mayo. And, quote, nobody celebrates better than me. Believe me, all the best people agree. And he's got a margarita and a sombrero and an American flag on there. So
Cultural
for the
appropriation.
people watching, they get to see a beautiful picture of DJT. And, all right. So,
Let's jump into it.
all right. Bishop.
Doctor.
Bishop.
Bishop.
Antoine Miner.
Yes.
So,
That's what they call me.
you
You heard my deep voice?
I did.
That's what they call
That's
me.
your Barry White boy.
you wrote a book.
I did.
So tell us about Bishop. I kind of want to hear the whole from soup to nuts, like when you were running for mayor and you went through the whole. Because I think the audience needs to know how interesting of a guy you are.
Like,
So
I started writing this book 15 years ago. Like, literally, my daughter is now 16. She was about 1 when I started. I was still on active duty. I had gotten hurt overseas and was sent to Fort Bragg to heal. And as I was at the Warrior Transition Battalion on Fort Bragg, I was like, I was going through so much right before I went overseas, my brother had got shot and killed in New York City, so I was still dealing with that.
Older, younger brother?
My older brother. My only brother from my mother.
I was going to say, so how many siblings were, like, really close with you?
Out of the 36, probably about 17. About 17. 17? Because I have siblings that were older than my mother. Like my oldest sister, who passed away last year from cancer, she was older than my mother by I think 10 years or something.
So from
like
a dad's previous
my dad was like 30 years older than my mom.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah,
hey.
He had some weird stuff.
Sugar
going on.
daddy type of thing, or
No, I mean he was old, so I don't think he was. I think it was more Splendor.
oh, okay.
He wasn't no
daddy.
sugar daddy.
He's a Splendor daddy.
We do got to watch our
Splendor.
sugar these days.
Yeah, he
so,
was a
you know,
Splendor
all right.
daddy or a sweet and low poppy. I don't know what you want to call him. But so when I got back here to Fort Bragg, I came to Fort Bragg only because the Army was trying to figure out where did I want to go to heal. You know, I had to go through this recovery process, the healing process. I had to learn how to walk because I had broken my spine and everything. So they were trying to figure out where am I going to go to heal. And I called one of my sisters that had just finished basic, and she was like, well, I'm going to Fort Bragg because I'm going to 82nd Airborne. So I'm like, okay, well, send me to Fort Bragg. She can help me heal. I won't be there by myself. At least I have her. They cut my orders, and she calls me like 2 days later and go, Jay, I'm sorry. I'm not coming to Fort Bragg. The Army is redirecting me to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I'm going to 101st Airborne. Well, okay. So here I am here, and I'm just going through one thing after the other. One thing after the other. My children's mother is pregnant with my daughter, my youngest daughter. I'm dealing with the pain of trying to recover and not knowing what's going on with my military career, and I just got all of this stuff going on, still dealing with the fact that earlier that year my brother had just gotten killed, and I'm still dealing with the grief from that. And I said, you know what, I'm going to write this book because I'm going through some storms. And so I thought of this, I had this concept for this book where I would parallel storms that we face in our natural lives with storms that, like the regular storms that happen, firestorms, snowstorms, earthquakes, tornadoes, things like that. And so I started writing the book, and I got about 3 pages in, and life started happening again. And I put it down. I said, I'll get back to it next week. Next week came, didn't do it. Next month, next year, 4, 5, 6 years went by. I said, let me pick it up again. I picked it up, did some more. And it was just that constant cycle of every time I said I'm going to get this done, another storm happened. So people ask me, why did it take you so long? Why did it take you 15 years to write a book? Did you have writer's block? No, I was facing storms. I was literally facing storms. 2011, on my birthday, I drove from Fayetteville, drove to Pennsylvania, picked up one of my sisters. It was Thanksgiving. It was Thanksgiving Eve. The next day was Thanksgiving. My mom was cooking. Picked up my sister from Pennsylvania, drove to New York City. When we got on the George Washington Bridge, we were all just laughing in the car because we were excited. We're going to go see Mom and stuff. And I started smelling embalming fluid. And I remember getting really quiet. While everybody's still laughing, I just got really quiet because it felt kind of surreal. And I'm like, why do I smell embalming fluid? So I brushed it off and didn't think nothing of it. Went on, pulled up to my mom's house, and she lived on the 3rd floor. And I was sitting downstairs, and I had to use the bathroom. And I heard Holy Spirit as clear as they say, go upstairs and use the bathroom. And I'm like, I'm not using the bathroom upstairs. He said, go use the bathroom. So I got out the car, went upstairs, walked in the house, went in the bathroom, used the bathroom, came out. My sister and my mom's husband said, your mom's not drinking water. She had just come out the hospital like a week before that. And I go in her room, and she's kind of thrashing back and forth on the bed. And I'm like, Mom, you got to drink. I'm fussing at her. I'm like, Mom, you have got to drink water. The doctor, if you don't drink water, you're going to end up in the hospital again. And there's nothing I can do for you if you end up back in the hospital. And within about 3 minutes, she laid back on the bed and gave up the ghost.
Wow.
And she passed away in 2011 on my birthday, which fell on Thanksgiving. Yeah.
When are you born? What day?
November 24th.
Okay.
So, I'm grieving, still grieving my brother, because I never had an opportunity to grieve my brother when he was killed in 2008. Because as the preacher, I'm expected to hold it all together, and every time I try to grieve, my sisters would come or my mom would come, and I gotta suck it up and be strong for them. And then my mom was kind of my strength that got me through my brother. Yeah. And then when she passed away, I'm like, what in the world I'm gonna do now?
So, from losing your brother to your mom, how long had gone by?
That was 2008. We lost my brother, and 2011. So it was
3 years.
3
Very
years.
quick. And we've discussed that before, Pastor Josh, and I think you were probably here too, about who does a pastor go to for their own counsel.
Yeah.
And I think you guys had lunch or something recently, so you get some of that out of the way. But who do you go to?
Yeah, that's it. I mean mostly each other or family members.
Yeah. Hopefully you have pastors and friends that, and I think we said it before, most pastors don't have friends.
Don't have friends.
Because
you're afraid of stealing each other's flock.
Yeah. And so it's like, can I really open up and be vulnerable to you about what I'm going through without you taking it as a sign of weakness and then trying to come in for the kill? So most of the time, pastors just hold it in. And, we take it to the Lord. But how many times do you go and you praying for everybody else, and then you have to kind of go behind closed doors and say, okay, God, now my turn. What's up?
I think you just named the reason why Greek Orthodox were supposed to do confession, but I never do. Too small of a community.
Yeah.
I don't need it.
Everybody gonna know your business.
I got some good stuff to talk about, but I don't think I need to let Pater know that. So,
well, if you need confession, come to me, Peter. I'll sit down with you. And
come hither, Peter.
Yes. And speaking of, so I spoke to you guys after I went to counsel for older adults a few weeks ago. We catered a luncheon from the restaurant. Last time I saw my priest just popped in my head, but they actually gave me a little certificate, like a recognition for catering the thing.
Very cool.
It's very nice. I mean, I was
stuff.
there. The public officials were out there. They didn't get recognized, but I did. I was like,
good
stuff.
But
that's because
they
brought value.
They put me next to Pater, Father Alex. I was like, okay, I got to behave, and then anyway,
get that
that's the last
tap
time
on
I
your
saw
leg,
my father.
Peter.
So, pretty much.
Calm down, Peter.
It's not. I don't get taps anymore. They just start kicking.
Do they?
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So, Bishop, you lost your brother. You lost your mom. Storm after storm. So the name of the book,
Facing the Storms.
Facing the Storms.
Dealing with life's natural disasters. Okay. So taking those natural disasters, like I said, like earthquakes and things like that. And in the book, I talk about how earthquakes are those events in your life that come and shake everything up. Like everything seems normal at one point, then all of a sudden out of nowhere, life just starts shaking. Things are cracking and falling all over the place, and you're trying to balance and not go down with the ship, so to speak. And then you also have those blizzards. I talk about blizzards in the book where you have those times in your life where you feel cold and isolated. It's just you, and even in those times, those are those times where sometimes you don't even feel God. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's like, God, where are you? Like, what are you doing? Where
am I talking to myself here?
Exactly. And so just kind of going through those different storms, and every time, like I said, every time I tried to write the book, there was another storm. So I say that in the book. I say, I wrote this book through the storms. Like, I was facing these storms. So it's not just stuff this storm. No, I faced every storm that's in that book. And I had to many times face those storms alone, or just me and God. And sometimes it was me, God, and my children. We were facing, whether it was eviction that we went through, whether it was homelessness. A lot of people don't know. Me and my kids have been homeless. So I said I was going to write a book entitled From Homelessness to Homeowner. Because, there was that time in that season where we had to go through that. And, just dealing with those different storms, and life was lifing, man. It was
life and hard.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just catching up because I wasn't furnished an advanced
well, that's
copy
the only copy.
Oh yeah,
and
so
it's
you don't
funny.
want me to dog ear the pages?
No,
and
no, you
okay.
no. I literally just got that one.
Yeah.
It just came in the mail today.
Okay,
I just got it today, so I was like, yes.
So I'm flipping through it. So Bishop, you're a smart guy. So I wanted to see how you laid this thing out. I get it. This is kind of cool. There's 13 chapters. Is that a bad? I thought that was an unlucky number.
Nah.
They don't have 13 floors in any building.
Well, I'm
Okay,
not
there's 13
superstitious.
chapters. We're going to hope they're not superstitious. But so the way you broke it out, you basically you name a natural disaster like tornado, hurricane, earthquakes, and then you go in and then there's some scripture attached to it.
Mm-hmm. Like every storm, I've attached scriptures.
I'm going to start with the earthquake one.
Yeah.
That sounded interesting to me. Chapter 3, earthquakes. So the shakings
see
that
how
change
Peter reads.
everything. Unlike tornadoes and hurricanes, earthquakes strike from deep within. No warning, no buildup. The ground beneath you, what you thought was stable, suddenly shifts violently, shaking everything you trust to stand still. Earthquakes remind us that even the foundations we depend on can be shaken. And in life, there are moments when it feels like everything, our beliefs, our plans, our identity, is rocked to the core. All right.
Sounds good.
You can
I'm going to read it.
You can write.
I can write.
You want me to do the audiobook?
Yeah.
So I'm auditioning. So let's see.
Yeah.
So so you go on. The purpose behind the shaking is another title, and it says the Bible says in Hebrews 12:26-27. So you reference relevant scripture.
Yeah.
And for those of you, because I don't look, Greek Orthodox, we don't read the Bible.
No,
You know, we're told by the priest what to do. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in the Hebrews 12:26-27.
Are you allowed to read the Bible?
Absolutely. We just
Don't.
look.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, why do we need to if he's going to put on the show and tell us when to stand up, sit down, kneel down? Here's one plate, two plate. Let's roll. So the Hebrew says, At that time his voice shook the earth, but now he has promised, once more I will shake not only the earth but also the heavens. The words once more indicate the removing of what can be shaken, that is, created things, so that what cannot be shaken may remain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. So I didn't have to go to my Bible. It was right there.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Good stuff.
You
It's
know, I
right
do
there.
have one.
Do you?
I do. I'm not saying I've cracked it open lately, but I do have one. But anyway, so I like the format. So you basically you lay out all your chapters based on natural disasters of some sort. There's nothing in here about voting Biden as president. Maybe that should be chapter 14.
That should have been
Is
14.
that of the epilogue?
Yeah, that is. It's there's a part that I want to read to you that talks about and it's in here. It's my testimony, and this is kind of what moved me to write this. It says, writing this book has been a journey, 15 years in the making. It wasn't because I lacked words. It was because I was living through my own storms. The natural disasters I write about here are not just metaphors to me. They are scars I carry, lessons I've survived. In 2008, I told you guys earlier, my life was stoked. My life was shaken to the core when my brother was shot and killed while sitting in his car outside of his clothing store in Harlem. And I still remember the call, the devastation, the sadness, a tornado of grief ripping through the family. In July of 2011, I was forced to medically retire from the United States Army after sustaining multiple injuries during my deployment to Iraq in support of the global war on terror. Losing my military career was another earthquake, cracking the foundation of who I thought I was and what I believed my future would be. That same year, my world shattered again. On November 24th, 2011, my 33rd birthday, which also fell on Thanksgiving Day, my mother died in front of my siblings and me. There are no words to fully describe the depth of that loss, the silence that follows such a moment. It was a blizzard of grief that I wandered through for years. Since then, the storms have kept coming. I've walked through divorce. I've battled sickness. I've experienced homelessness. I have suffered devastating losses. And in 2020, I became severely ill with COVID-19, fighting for my life for 45 days. It was a flood that left me gasping for breath, clinging to God's promises when everything else felt stripped away. Then, in July 2024, I suffered a mild heart attack. Yet another reminder that life is fragile and every day is a gift. Through it all, I have learned this. I know a thing or two about storms. I know the terror, the loneliness, the questions, the anger, the exhaustion that come when the winds rage and the waters rise. But even more than that, I know the faithfulness of the one who walks with us through the fire, the flood, the earthquake, and the storm. This book is not written from a distance. It's written from the trenches, from experience. It is written to tell you that you are not alone in your storm. There is hope. There is healing. There is life after the storm. I am living proof. And if you keep walking, if you keep trusting the one who calms the seas, you will too. So, just
Bring it.
like I said, just walking through those storms. I was. You were saying something during your good news, and you're talking about just being grateful, and being grateful for the breath you breathe. And I remember when I was sick with COVID for those 45 days, the last day that I was like deathly sick, I remember standing in my bedroom, and my bed has these big pillars on it, and I could hear my kids downstairs playing, and I remember grabbing onto the pillar because I had no strength left. And I said, God, my kids are going to walk upstairs and find me dead in this room because I got nothing left. And I said, God, with what I got left, give me the victory. And I felt instantly, it was like this breeze that went by, and I took a deep breath, and my lungs opened up, and I could breathe again. And I was like, God. And then I was preparing for a message, and that song came on, Goodness of God. And I had never heard of it before. And I was listening to it, but I wasn't paying, you got stuff playing in the background. But the part that stood out was where it said, with every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. So when you started talking about that early and that breath, I was driving down the street the other day, and I just started thanking God for just the breath. Not for the material things, not for anything. God, just thank you for the breath that I breathe, that you allow me to continue to breathe your air, through all because that's one thing about storms. When those winds kick up, it's hard to breathe. It's hard to keep your balance. I like to watch the Weather Channel. I love the Weather Channel. I love watching people like Jim Cantori and all of them on the Weather Channel when they're out there and the storm is raging and they getting blown and they trying to brace themselves and hold. That's how life is sometimes. Life, those storms are coming. The winds are coming off the seas of life, and it is beating you and battering you, and you are doing everything in your power to hold yourself together and not be taken down by the wind. And you got your umbrella. Those are your friends. You got your umbrella. But sometimes that wind is so strong, it tears the umbrella up. And now you're out there and you're getting wet and it's beating up against you. You just got to try to breathe through it. So, So that's the book, Facing the Storms.
Powerful.
Dealing with life's natural disasters.
Powerful. I'm going to read it.
Thank you.
I'll read it.
Thank you.
And Peter even offered to do the audiobook for you.
Yeah, see?
Thank you.
You need a smooth talking.
Smooth talker.
Smooth talking Greek guy.
Good stuff.
Greek boy.
I'd love to. Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. So where are we going to be able to buy it?
Well, it'll be available on Amazon June 1st, and we are trying to set up the book release tour. So what we want to do, and I think I talked to Josh about this as well, is to do like a Sunday morning tour at different churches on different Sunday mornings to come and to minister from the book, talk about the book, and then have copies of the book available for individuals to purchase and get signed copies.
Wait a minute, Tony Robbins. This sounds like something much larger than just a book.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
This is like a whole thing you're putting together.
Okay. We're having him in. I'm
not being funny about the Tony Robbins. If we get him to grow up a little bit and put a suit on him, he'll clean up all right.
We can't do it in June because I'm already booked up. But in July, Bishop's going to come and be a part of our service, have him preach and do a book signing, and because this resonates with me because I'm continually preparing my people for the storm. I always go to Matthew 7. It is literally something I preach on, and so when I saw the name of it, I'm just like, just it resounds with me, and so I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
I
think in a good way, it's colloquial. It's easy to relate to. And I think that's what makes it most useful.
Now, if my mama was here, funny because my mother was a part of my church for like the whole time I pastored. When she was alive, she was a part of my church, and we used to sing this song, there's a storm out over the ocean, and it's moving this way, and if your soul's not anchored in Jesus, you will surely drift away. And one day we were singing that song. I mean, we were getting into it, and I saw my mother get up and put her little finger up and walk out the church, and she didn't come back in until afterwards. And she kept doing it, and one day I said, Mother, why every time we sing that song, you get up and walk out? She said, because I ain't got time for no more storms. 2 minutes. She said, don't be calling those storms. I said, but Mom, it says if your soul's not anchored, you'll surely drift away. She said, I don't care what it said. She said, you deal with the storms. I'll come back when they're over.
I'm done.
Yeah, Mom was tired of being Lord's strongest warrior. I think.
She was tired of it. Right? She fell asleep in every service. Like she sat right up under the heat and she would go to sleep.
Is it because of the heat or because of what you were saying?
No, it was the
Oh,
heat.
you
sure
can,
you
yeah,
didn't
you
put her
can't
to
sleep.
sleep?
You can't sleep during the.
It was the heat.
Yeah.
And I asked her one day, I got up and I said, Mother, God, you call her Mother. She was the mother of our church. I said, Mother. I said, how was service? She said, oh, it was good. She said, you preached the word today. And I said to her, I said, did I? She said, you did. I said, what I preach? She said, don't ask me no questions. You know what you said. You was the one preaching. I said, that's because you was sleeping the whole service.
I saw you.
I saw you right on the front row sitting over there sleeping.
Excellent. Sounds like we missed an opportunity to meet a good lady.
Yeah.
Good lady.
Yeah. When the book came in the mail today and I looked at it, my mind immediately went to my mom, and I had to kind of hold back the tears because I was like, yeah. You know, there's those some storms you
I
just
told you bring
don't
your
get over.
Kleenex to talk about this book.
I know. I know. I called my middle daughter. She about to be 26 this week, and she called. She's a teacher up in New York City, and she called me back. She said, "What you want, old man?" I said, "I was crying." She said, "For what?" And I showed her the book. She said, "Oh, she so New York,
Yeah.
no emotion." She's like,
Oh.
"Okay." I was like, and I just looked at her like, "Okay." She's like, "That's nice." It's like,
Thanks.
"You're so New York." Like, just get off my phone.
Yeah.
Non-supportive self.
That's what's wrong with me then. See, I just thought I was being an a-hole.
No.
A lot
No,
of
you're
times,
from New
you know.
York.
Well, I told somebody earlier, I don't know how I've not been through, like I was telling somebody, I've never been through what you've been through. But don't let me ever say just get over it, because I'm way too pragmatic. I'm just going to look at something and be like, all right, you're still on that? Like, we're talking about a
Yeah.
loss of a friend or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't never
But
done that,
I
so.
do that too. Like, I
Yeah.
be telling people, like, after a while, it's like, we still there?
Yeah.
Like, at some point, we gotta put our
pick
big
up
girl
and move
draws
on.
and our big
Yeah.
boy draws on, and we gotta. But some stuff it's easier said than done, and some stuff you think you're over until you're faced with a situation that triggers a memory, and it all comes flooding back.
But as adults, I think, like the pastors talk to the other pastors, I, would see close friends or some other counsel. You have to be old enough to pick up and have that in your toolbox to admit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go move on from where we're at.
And sometimes I talk to my kids.
Yeah.
Like, I'm be honest. I mean,
but
my
they
younger
abuse
kids,
you. That's not
they
a-
do.
yeah.
They do. Especially my son. He uses stuff against me. He'd be like, "Dad, remember you said so?" Like, I'd be like, "Don't do that." But Dad, you said you used to do that too.
He doesn't say
I never
you're-
said that.
He said you're an overfed field hand.
Yeah, that's what he told me.
That's
That's what he told me.
That's when you start gaslighting them.
That's
No,
what-
I never said that.
Yeah. But I talk to my kids sometimes. I'll sit down. I used to be that dad that would, if they ask me, "Dad, are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good." But as they've gotten older, now they be like, "Dad, you okay?" No, I'm not okay. I'm dealing with this right now. Is anything we can do? Your chores. But that's about it.
Wash them dishes.
Do you and stay out of my
Exactly.
way
Just,
right now.
just give
Yeah.
me time to breathe and to weather this storm. It'll be okay. Dad got it, and God got me, and I got y'all. So, but yeah, sometimes I've had to. There's been times that I kid you not, I've had to lean on my daughter when she was like 14 years old and cry. And she's like, "It's okay, Dad. Like, it's gonna be okay. But right now, I just need you to keep that shoulder right there,
because
Daddy need that shoulder right there."
And I think that's unique as a parent that you do share things, because I think a lot of the older school parents, it's not your problem kid, and I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. You got some pretty good kids though. They're pretty smart.
Yeah.
So.
And I told you that's
despite you, they're really smart and they're really
And really good.
well behaved. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty.
I trained them to be shoulders to lean on.
Yeah.
That's because like I said, pastors not having a lot of friends. Who do I go to? Well, I got these two humans in my house that have come from me.
Yeah.
So they understand me. They see everything that I'm going through. That's one thing. I never kept what I'm going through away from my kids. They've seen me go through the storms, and I did that on purpose because my mother did it to us. She allowed us to see her go through the struggles and the storms so that when we had to face our own storms, we knew how to weather them and how to come through them correctly and not break under the pressure of the storm. So I do the same thing with my kids. I let them see as much of the storm as I can let them see. Some stuff I got to fight it by myself, but whatever I can let them see, I let them see it.
Excellent. Well, Our time is up, dear Cabinet. I
It
want to
is.
say a thank you to you all for being here. Pastor Josh, it's
Yes,
always good to have
sir.
you here. And to Bishop Miner,
I'm welcome.
good to have you as a co-host and a guest tonight
And a guest.
and this morning. So it's
Yeah.
great.
Be my guest.
So
Be
to
my
our
guest.
audience, I hope you'll do us a favor and take time this week to visit one of our commercial sponsors. Let them know you heard their message right here on the Carolina Cabinet. If you do somehow miss an episode of our top-rated show,
Top,
Rated.
not X-rated.
you can find us on your favorite podcast broadcaster. Do I really
We're
have to?
everywhere.
Apple, Spotify, Google, Audible. We're
Everywhere.
kind of everywhere. Look for us online at thecarolinacabinet.com. You can
We on
find
Google,
all
too.
our videos and links. Thanks again for tuning in this morning. Until next time, we are
The Carolina Cabinet.